Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am Screen Scene Guru coming at you with new movie entertainment news, television news, all kinds of sports and journalism news. So let's get into it. I've got a bit of notes jotted down from the last few days. So I'm going to start off with my notes, of course. So let's get into this. We've got Henry Cavill may be coming to the MCU. There are reports of his agent apparently in talks with people at Marvel, so that's very interesting, especially after his cameo in Deadpool Wolverine. I'm not sure if they will cast him as Wolverine or if that was sort of a side joke. We've also got Tom DeLonge is apparently a UFO consultant to the UFO file drop. So now he is coming out on podcasts discussing what he knows about the phenomenon and his research. So it's pretty cool. Fred Durst claims that aliens are real. This was on his birthday. He took a birthday video vlog and told people to pay attention to what's out there. Reno, Nevada is in a state of emergency due to wildfires going on. Over 100,000 people evacuated houses and businesses. Then we got a British power plant was actually cyber attacked on the same week that our water plants were essentially shut down. This was most likely Iranian cyber hacks due to the conflict in the Middle East. We also got Dave Chappelle turned 53 years old. So big shout out to Dave Chappelle. He's one of my favorite comedians. Ross tells of a luring operation that is going on. Ross Coulthart, if you guys haven't watched him on News Nation, he has been reporting on the phenomenon. There is a great concern about the use of high-pulse microwave weapons around public airports and commuting areas. They have used them in the past before. In and around civilian air traffic. So that is a big concern, of course, because they don't want people affected harshly by these high pulse microwaves. That's basically what Havana is, Havana syndrome. So HPMs, high pulse microwaves, are used on civilian to shoot down aircraft. So they've been using them in war tactics for a few years now. They've perfected them somewhat. And now they're using these same tactics to shoot down UAPs, apparently. Very concerning news going on. We've got the first trailer for Runner with Alan Richardson and Owen Wilson, which is coming out this month. It's coming out September 11th. So that's really cool from Angel Studios. It's going to be the second Angel Studios movie that Alan Richardson's done. The first one he did with Ordinary Angels. I like that film. Alien reproduction vehicles story may be fake. Some people are reporting that we don't have the means to reverse engineer their technology. It's so advanced, so beyond us. Other people are claiming, if we've gotten this material since the late 60s and we've been reverse engineering it for 80 years, we haven't come up with a craft of our own that we can fly. So it's a very mixed opinion right now. Of course, the government wants it to be that. Everyone kind of running around, not sure what's true. So we've got a few in government contact leaders of organizations that have this tech. Apparently Lockheed Skunk Works, a few others that were legacy organizations, legacy corporations that have this level of trust with the government. Apparently there were several individuals that came out and said the black triangles are ours. They're used by the Defense Department. Defense contractors are piloting them, apparently. And they're said to be reverse engineered craft. They're craft that have been taken apart and put back together to study them. And there are people piloting them. They're not aliens. They're not otherworldly. There are U.S. soldiers in the Defense Department. which is very interesting to hear that. We've heard these stories before, but now from more credible witnesses. Gremlins 3 is in the works, with Chris Columbus, of course, set to direct. He hasn't directed in a while. They don't know when they're going to lock him down to direct Gremlins 3. There's a script apparently ready at Warner Brothers. It is set to be released some point, but it hasn't been approved or shot. But they are apparently over at Disney. They want Chris Columbus back to do a Home Alone 3. Even though we just lost Catherine O'Hare, I'm not exactly sure how they're going to do the story without her, the mom. But maybe this time it will be Macaulay Culkin and his kids on the Home Alone story. We'll have to see. But apparently that's getting fast-tracked to be ready by holiday of 2027. So next year, Home Alone 3 could be possibly ready before Gremlins 3. We've got a new Fargo series coming out. This will be the 6th season of Fargo on FX. I've heard really good things about this show. I've never really been a fan of the true crime dramas, even if they're comedies. But it might be a good time to get started on this show now that they're going into season 6. They are talking about how it's going to be a mini series, so it's not going to be as long as the past seasons. It's going to be like 6 episodes, I believe. It's a time period series as well. This time they're going to Texas to investigate the JFK assassination. So that's pretty cool. First time I think that they've done the series in a time period setting and location. So that's really dope. New York Comic Con is set to happen this year in October, which a lot of people are getting hyped for. October 8th is going to be Marvel's television panel. So they're most likely going to be announcing new MCU Disney Plus shows on October the 8th, New York Comic Con. We're not sure what those shows might be. I would like to see maybe a Nova series announced, or maybe greenlit. I know they're doing a movie apparently, but it'd be cool to see an animated Nova series just to kind of get introduced to the character. Perhaps maybe something with Blade. I'm not sure if they can do anything in the TV realm since we're not getting the movie. It would be kind of cool if they did a TV show, or I don't know, maybe just a vampire show, just setting up that world, and then maybe getting a Blade special presentation. Even if it's not Mahershala Ali, we could get someone to come in and do voice acting. But nothing's been announced yet, so we've got to wait till October. And a lot of people thought that Vision Quest coming out in October would be the last Disney Plus show, and that they'd stop pouring money into it because not a lot of people watch Disney Plus content. I knew that wasn't going to be a thing. Just like years ago, people talked about how Endgame was going to be the last MCU Marvel movie. They're going to keep making projects. They just need to really focus on what's the story they want to tell. A couple of these projects has just been like all over the place. Like in my opinion, that last Fantastic Four movie was kind of weaker. They didn't really set up Doom at all. Now we're expected to see Doom and Doomsday, where they should have maybe set him up a bit more in Fantastic Four. The Captain America Brave New World. I liked that movie. I thought it was good. But it didn't really set up a lot for the events of the MCU. They need to set up events that are going to, more correlate like the first Avengers did, instead of just throwing things at the wall and hoping things stick. That's been their big problem for a long time. The Bigelow podcast announced their 4th episode, so you guys can go onto their channel, Channel 8 News Now in Vegas, or you can go onto the Bigelow podcast and subscribe. Really interesting stuff. They brought on both the former owners of Skinwalker Ranch. They brought on Robert Bigelow and Brandon Fugel. So that's really cool. They talk about the phenomenon, the studies that are going on there. I'm currently watching season 7 of Secrets at the Skinwalker Ranch. It's pretty good. I highly recommend everybody watch it. It's available on Prime Video. You can check it out by the seasons. So yeah, pretty good stuff there. They talk about how it's been 30 years of paranormal investigating on the ranch. DIA was there to begin with Bigelow, investigating gravitational anomalies. So that's very interesting because if you watch the show, season 7, they've introduced the bubble, the blob, and these gravitational anomalies. They're getting 2,000 feet up inside of the bubble where the triangle is located on the ranch. So that's very interesting. They think that some kind of defense system that the phenomenon has. I just did a report about how there's a house in Russia, in Estonia, that has a UFO underneath it, and it projects a field of supernatural intense energy. I believe this bubble effect that is going on Skinwalker Ranch is the direct result of them having an artifact buried under the ranch, creating this bubble effect of supernatural charged events. And now they're using drones, other devices to fly back and forth through the bubble to try to see if they can get any detections of any anomalies going on. There's usually a signal that is played from within the mesa. They've shot it with Tesla coil guns, smoke, so all kinds of experiments to see if things would pass through the barrier. Sometimes things get stopped up, and then other times they go right through. So that's very interesting. Anomalous creatures they talk about. There haven't been a lot of sightings in the last few years, but back in the day there were a lot of sightings of creatures that would disappear into darkness, never be seen again. Even the local law enforcement, the sheriff's department, was called out to run some of these creatures off their property. So that's very interesting. They talk about a creature trying to crawl up a pony wall, try to get access to the animals inside the cage, the den. Security officers and sheriff's department were called to the scene to shoot their guns and essentially scare the creature off. But when they tried to follow it on an ATV, it crawled up the canyon, more like leaped across the canyon, faster than they could drive up the dirt roads. So this creature was moving at quite a rate of speed. Several spots around the world were discovered in 1996 that were very active, and the NIDS Bigelow research team went out there and investigated them. They didn't just go to sister ranches around Skinwalker in Utah. They also went to South America and studied things down there. So that's very interesting. They went all over the globe studying things, NIDS did. So that research still hasn't been revealed to the public. It slowly is being released, very slowly. NIO Science Advisory Board was created the same month in 2016 that Bigelow bought the property. So he brought on his science board to investigate what was going on there. We also saw that Bigelow brought the ranch to study it, so we know that. Just like Brandon Fugel, he bought the ranch to kind of debunk it, try to prove nothing was happening, where Bigelow bought the ranch to prove something was happening. And he had Defense Department funding from his good friend Harry Reid. So we got the risk of living in a living laboratory. So they talked about that several times. That site location is, not a lot of things happen twice. When they're experimenting out there, they don't get the same results. So it's very interesting to get data collection. Their data is usually scrambled from their LiDAR and other tools they're using. Now I kind of wonder, is that a government tactic, scrambling data to make sure they don't find something? They've also been digging on the property, which a lot of people have reported once they start digging, acute medical things happen to people. So far, nothing's happened to anyone yet. Jaw bones were discovered of a dire wolf from 10,000 years ago. So that's very interesting. They've got, extinct dire wolf bones showing up near the creek bed, which makes people question how that arrived there. And then, of course, Jack Osborne recently was in talks with a podcast talking about how he knows a contact who communicates with the president regularly, and the president claims he knows the UAPs come up out of our oceans, but they don't know what they are, which is, we've heard this for months, years almost. We know that they come out of our oceans. what are they, right? We want to know. We've got a series update real quick. Grey's Anatomy and 911, both the original series in Nashville, are all returning on October the 15th. So really cool that we're not just a few months away until we get Grey's Anatomy back, which I don't even know what season they're on. Season 10 of the 911 series, and then season 2, I believe, or the final half of season 1 of Nashville, 911 Nashville, which I'm a big fan of. Masters of the Universe hits #1 most streamed movie, which is interesting because it didn't make that much money at the box office. Reese Dalton Morgan talks about the Fae and fairies and how he stepped on a fairy. He felt bad about it in Australia. So that's very interesting how the body apparently disappeared from the bottom of his shoe, like turned into energy. Ridley Scott is back with another Alien prequel, guys. This is reports from Ridley Scott himself. He wants to bring back Michael Fassbender as David, living on a new world that he's created in his own image. This sounds a lot like that script we heard about, Paradise Lost. Not sure if that's going to be what they're adapting the film from, but very interesting that David's return. You know, they're doing the red carpet premiere for Dog Stars right now, and Ridley Scott mentioned Alien, so that's pretty cool. It would be the third Alien prequel before the first movie, because they did Prometheus, they did Covenant, and then Alien Romulus was kind of like a caveat off to the side. Still taking place between Alien 1 and 2, but yeah, they still need to do a third prequel to finish off that storyline, which I'm sure a lot of people would be interested in. We've also got Ridley Scott claims AI is going to get faster than humans, but he hasn't used it yet. So he knows what people are on the fence about AI. He's mentioned it's going to get smarter and faster, but he's yet to use it yet. So that's cool. Elon Musk plans on turning a Louisiana marshlands into Starship Hub, $100 billion to turn this marshland into launching zones for starships. Very interesting endeavor that, you know, SpaceX is trying. We'll have to see if they get approved by the government to make these buildings. And we've seen in the last few years, their sites that they've launched rockets from, they need a bigger facility. Even the one out in Texas that they use with NASA isn't quite big enough. So Louisiana marshland seems like the next best step. Serious 1 million tons of stuff. So they're saying that we usually ship about 12 million to 20 million pounds of material into space. Elon's talking about we need to get serious and send 1 million tons of material into space to use it for colony missions. And he's talking about, you know, survival of the species. We can't just be living on one planet anymore. There's too many hazards going out there. We need to start developing a moon base, eventually going out to Mars, other planets, and we'll need materials for that. So he's talking about getting 1 million pounds of stuff into space, which is interesting. You'll need a lot of big rockets for that. More launches set to come by 2030. They're going to be launching every day, so that's kind of interesting. Peter Cullen, unfortunately, passed away, guys. The voice of Optimus Prime. This is a big one for everyone that loves Transformers. We also got the late Dolly Parton, passed away, an infamous country music icon. Lake Ontario was recently renamed to the Lake America by the president, which even the Canadian president made a social media post, Carney, saying it may be changed for him, but the great people of Canada will always know it as the Lake Ontario. So even when he changes things in his office, it doesn't really affect the real world. It's just kind of in his head. A settlement between the 12 states and Paramount may be coming soon, by the end of the year, because they don't want to pay that $7 billion breakup fee to Warner Brothers. So I guess the 12 states, Bonta, the judge, has asked Paramount to divest some of their earnings. So that means like cable networks, streaming services. Essentially they're asking them not to pass the 30% mark of ownership because that would be a monopoly. So in order to divest some of their networks, they're talking about maybe selling off Nickelodeon, DC Studios, even though it just kind of got its feet back under it. They're talking about selling off Harry Potter and other big legacy IPs, even though the whole merger was so that Paramount would have control of these legacy IPs. It looks like the only way this merger might go down is if they divest, sell off a few things to keep the majority under house, but some things are going to have to go, which sounds very interesting for what they're trying to get done. Real quick, I do want to go into some comics because I did pick up a new batch of comics. I've done some reading. I read my own Green Lantern comic, so that's cool with the series dropping. There's going to be a third episode out this week, guys. If you haven't been watching Lanterns, I read Ghosts of Christmas Past. So this is an interesting comic to read. It is set, in the 90s, so classic time to be reading. Let's see if I can get 98. So 98, a year before I was born, we get to see this fine young green woman doing some nice Christmas holiday shopping. We do get to find out that she is in a relationship with Kyle Rayner, who is a younger Green Lantern. He's currently off-world, rebuilding the Green Lantern Corps, and she's left on Earth to be kind of the stationary lantern. We also get to see, she's got a brother, Obsidian, who likes to do holiday shopping with her, so that's cool. Throughout the comic, we get to see she's kind of startled, taken aback by a flashback of the mall Santa being a creep. She remembers him being not very friendly, and of course she bursts into action trying to stop this mall Santa from hurting kids. I love this image of them showing her classic outfit. So that's really cool. She gets the mall Santa and pretty much wrecks house. She tries to save the kid. Then when she's got the guy all tied up late night, she makes him confess to what he's done. Kind of an interesting turn of the comic. I didn't expect this from a 90s comic, but she makes him basically remember her. She was a child at an orphanage years ago, where he was a janitor, and there were reports about him being not friendly with the girls there at the school. It's very shocking that they went into this, in some comics, and she was at a girls' school, orphanage, so none of the girls wanted to admit what happened because they were afraid that would affect them being adopted. So he would dress up as Santa Claus every year to make them try to have a ceremony, sit on his lap, and they didn't want to, so the headmistress would send the girls to bed. But this janitor guy was a creep, and he would just visit the girls. We see from her flashback, her powers developed when he attacked her, and she was able to defend herself, shoot him with an energy blast. We get to see he didn't come back. He was too scared. So that was kind of her Christmas gift. And now that she's grown up, she has the means to defend others, not just herself. So that's cool. The guy pleaded for his freedom, and she basically said it's been too long to, charge him with anything. But she does give him this line that, people do bad things even when they shouldn't. And she kind of plays up that she's going to stab him, but she ends up freeing him from his bonds. So that's cool. And then she tells him off. I've always wanted to watch Just Out of the Side of Your Corner. If you do anything like this again, basically she'll be the wrath, the justice that comes for him. Very interesting. She let him go. But really cool. Green Lantern comics, Ghost of Christmas Past, which was interesting. Check that out for your Green Lanterns. We also got, I'm showing off my physical media. I got some Mortal Kombat 2, which I'll be diving into very soon. Can't wait to check this out. I heard really good things about it. So, great to have that in the collection. Mortal Kombat 2. I want to show off real quick some comics, and then I'll probably be done for this channel, this video. Really awesome comic collection I was able to pick up from the Facebook Marketplace. Meeting a nice gentleman on there. Showing you some comics right now. This is Aliens Aftermath for the 35th anniversary of Alien. Look at that. Check that out. It's a sick cover. A glowing xenomorph, which is just awesome. Aliens Aftermath. Some of the comics were like better than the games and better than like some of the other content we've gotten over the last few years. Here's a Aliens Resistance. That looks sick. Dark Horse Comics. They made some of the best storylines ever. Okay, so now we're going to Terminator. So we got The Enemy Within. Very awesome Terminator comic. I've actually got two of these. Two of that same copy. And we got another one, Terminator The Enemy Within. I love this cover art because it's just so interesting. Got another one, The Terminator. Nice. I always thought Terminator comics were interesting, fascinating storyline as well. The Terminator, The Dark Years. A New Ally. Interesting. And then we've got Terminator Hunter and Killers. Awesome. Especially with AI coming around the corner. Definitely going to be checking out these books. Hunter and Killers, that's another one. Looks like this is in Russia. So that's cool. And another Alien comic. Which is cool. We got Terminator. First Dark Horse issue, so this may be rare for it being the first Dark Horse issue of Terminator. Really dope. And we got Terminator, Hunter and Killers again. This is like a heavy metal rock cover. And I'm not sure if they're in Russia due to the hat. That's pretty sick. I've shown this one off already, Hunters and Killers. This is Terminator's secondary objectives. So yeah, very interesting cover art. Secondary objectives. I'm not sure if it's like to capture humans, to turn them into Terminators, or what. But it's a sick cover. Then we got, this one's pretty cool because it's Alien versus Predator. Thicker Than Blood. So check this out. Alien versus Predator. Really dope. And then this last one I want to show off is RoboCop versus the Terminator, which is really cool because we just heard a report about Dan Stevens from Legion and from Abigail is going to be our new RoboCop. So Dan Stevens, really interesting. And I've wanted them to adapt this RoboCop versus Terminator. I wanted them to do this for a long time. I'm not sure if they will. But the fact that you got Dan Stevens to play our new RoboCop, that's pretty fun. It's pretty awesome. Can't wait to see what his series is going to be like. But yeah, that should do it for me, for my coverage of all the stuff, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. and I'll catch you in another one of my videos. Bye bye.